Hello. Happy to be here. I'm Jonathan Anastas. I'll be moderating with this great panel of executives from Dick's and from Gamechanger. I thought we'd start by diving into like a very timely example that hopefully a lot of you are excited about. You guys at Dick's Sporting Goods have activated around the Knicks and their incredible first time in 50 years NBA championship. And I know it was like a multi-layered execution where you're working across retail and social and in real life, and you've managed to balance connecting with authenticity in your brand. So if you could talk about that a little, that would be amazing.
Sure, happy to. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us. Jonathan, thank you for the panel. Yeah, it was quite a moment, and I'm from Massachusetts, so a Boston sports fan, but I've lived for the last 20 years in New York. So it was the first time I rooted for a New York team personally. My husband didn't love that, but it was a lot of fun for me and the kids. And from a Dick's perspective, as we thought about how to authentically integrate ourselves into this moment and into this momentum, we thought about it in three buckets: product, community, and experience. And from a product perspective, we needed to make sure we had the right product, and luckily for us, as much as possible, both in store and online. From a community perspective, we wanted to make sure we were showing up in an authentic way. So after the finals, we had a couple of players come to our stores in the New York area, as well as post on social for us and play in that way. And then from an experience perspective, both line and in store, we try to bring the retail environment to life in a very special way, which is all due to my colleague here, Toni Roeller. So I'll let her pick up on retail.
Thanks, Emily. I think, the thing about the Knicks, which we were so excited about, is the fact that after 50 plus years, there was just a moment, but that's not something that we can predict. We do a pretty good job of being prepared, but it's not always able to be predictive. I think the other piece that we're excited about right now, hyper relevant, is the World Cup. Now that is something that we have been working on for well over a year. I see a little head nod out there in the audience because, when you think about the World Cup, it's like 30 Super Bowls in 30 days, which is crazy. And so there's been a tremendous amount of coordination across all of the channels to make sure this comes to life in a hyper unique way. And, Emily and I work hand in glove. I think that's part of bringing all the channels to life. But this one's been especially exciting because now that we've got different platforms, different physical platforms, it allows us to actually create quite an opportunity to activate in them. So it's not just about product. It's not just about associates. It's not just about a transaction. It's about creating a relationship. And then you pull that through with the Dick's Media Network, and it's something that's a little seamless to us.
Great, thank you. I think it was amazing what you guys did. So moving from the highest profile level of sport, the NBA championships, we'd like to shift a little to talk about activating at youth sports, right? Bottoms up, and how you're building future customers and future fans. And why don't you talk a little bit about Gamechanger and how you're activating across like 10 million users and thousands of games and thousands of teams?
Sure. Look, I get two answers when people ask me, where do you work? I say Gamechanger, and there's one of two answers happening. I don't know what that is, or it's like they saw a celebrity and they want to tell me everything about Gamechanger. That is because 10 million families use Gamechanger on a weekly basis to follow their most precious athlete, which is not on ESPN, it's their kid playing sports every weekend. And we know the responsibility that entails. We know that building trust with the families and providing them with opportunities to be present when they can't be there, to relive the moments when their athlete finishes a moment. It's what we do best. I don't know if everybody knows what Gamechanger does, so I'm just gonna give you a tiny primer. We have three segments of customers. The coaches use Gamechanger to keep the stats of the game and to help athletes perform better. The families use it to watch the game when they can't be there live or experience it in other modalities that are available. And the athletes use it to watch themselves, see how they perform, share on social media. So for us, being able to be part of that very emotional moment of game day and living the moment with them is how we build that emotional equity.
Amazing. Were you going to... All right. So we talked a little bit about youth sports from the bottom up. We talked about pro from the top down. I think another big lever in sports today is leveraging influencers and creators. And I'd open this question up to any of the three of you. How are you guys activating with the influencer and creator level in sports right now?
Sure, I'll take that one first. So at Dick's, we have something called the Varsity Team, and it's a group of influencers, some of them from our own store teams who know the sports and know the power of our opinion quite well. Some of them micro or well-known influencers in the sports space. And we leverage them to curate content and work with us to help amplify our messages from our big brand communications, but also to authentically, as we talked about with the Knicks and Toni talked about with World Cup, ensure that we're in the conversation in the everyday moments that happen in sport or the big moments that happen in sport like the World Cup. So it's a community we continue to build, and it's something that's working very well for us. I would say as a marketer, we've really leveraged a lot of our spend from traditional media to influencer, and it's something we'll continue to do.
The way that we use it is slightly different because our influencers or our content creators are the parents of these kids. And they don't capture content or share it for followers or for impressions. They capture it out of the love that they feel for these kids. So the relationship that we have with our content creators, it's very different than if we were paying somebody. And we take that part of the way that our flywheel works, it's because of the relationship we have with the parents of the kids.
Amazing. So we talked about some high-level things. Let's hopefully move to some tactical things so the audience can leave with some lessons and some best practices. So one of the things, you own a platform, you create content on other platforms. In 2026, where are you finding yourselves investing more in terms of platforms and moving people from owned versus like third-party platforms? What platforms are you seeing more or less traction in the world of sports? Like, where do you see the content ecosystem evolving in your vertical that helps your business today?
So we're certainly seeing social continue to grow. That's no surprise. We're seeing social commerce in particular be a place that is growing quickly. From our perspective, the other thing that we're very excited to be able to leverage is our data set. We like to say we have the best data in sports, and we can use that to power our Dick's Media Network, which takes advantage of both our owned platforms, whether it's online or in store, as well as social platforms to leverage the data to talk to the right person at the right time with the right sports message, which is incredibly powerful for us. So we're actually selling that inventory through the Dick's Media Network to partners or non-endemics, but we're also using those same capabilities for ourselves to make our media even more powerful and get a better return.
I think if I could add to that just a little bit in terms of where we're making investments, we are spending almost $1 billion this year, and I can say that out loud because it's very public, on repositioning our physical stores. And the thing about that is it allows people to experience product in unique ways. Jonathan, you were talking about just taking your son to pick up a new pair of shoes. And so you are a content creator for us as well, as you have that experience and you pay it forward on social media. And so as we think about, again, our stores and what visiting our stores in real life actually means, it's allowing us to connect that conversation in a very different way, continuing to integrate digital technology and being able to use the data that Emily's referencing to understand how people not only travel our stores, visit our stores, how long they're staying, what they're buying. And so it gives us a whole different way to think about investments and also connections.
That's really cool. As kind of a follow-on to that, we're moving beyond a world of like demographics. Like on our prep call, you were talking about like the moment somebody was in. How are you trying to figure out how to serve messages in the moment? I'm in a shopping moment, I'm in a playing moment, I'm in a watching moment. Like, how are you working through like the motivation of somebody, not just the demographics of somebody as you market to them?
So I'm going to take I think the physical piece of like having people connect with our brand is a unique opportunity. I think it's some crazy little stat that 60% of all Gen Z are now going back to the mall. And so they're going back to the mall because they want to have entertainment. They want to intersect in different ways. And so product on shelves, that's accessibility, but you can access that product anywhere that you, frankly, anywhere that you shop or anywhere that you have a phone. For us, it's about that experience and that connectivity. And so what you're seeing in our newest platform of stores, we've got roughly 40 of them in the marketplace. We have experiences, and you can climb the rock wall. You can get into a batting cage. You can be out on the field. You can actually have interactions with activators. I think one of the biggest ones that we're seeing right now that's super exciting is we just put, it's called a Collectors Clubhouse in our stores. So this amazing partnership with Fanatics where you have collectibles, you've got trading cards, and kids are coming in to do these break parties. So imagine bringing 10, 12 kids in to do a break party, and they're able to live stream that. So the great thing about that is those kids did not get to the store by themselves. Someone got them there. So while they are being entertained, while they're spending time, you've got the folks who drove them there with longer dwell times, interacting. And so you've got this unique opportunity to create memories and experiences, but also it's a traffic driver and it's an engagement tool.
That's amazing. Are you starting to do the same thing with Gamechanger? How are you sort of figuring out how to like move the physicality of the relationship from the field and that content there into the retail environment?
Yeah, I mean, Emily touched on the fact that we have a very rich data set across companies, and we also know that the Gamechanger users are the best Dix customers, not only because we know more about them, but because inherently they are more interested in sports. Gamechanger has different segments of users depending on how they relate to sports and why they want their kids to play sports. So we use that not demographic, but psychographic data to drive them to engage with Dix in person or online if they are more interested, for example, on getting their kid to be noticed by a scout. It's very different how we engage with a parent that is in it for the performance of the athlete versus somebody that is in it because they don't want to miss a game. And it's more about the love and the involvement. And all of that data powers the marketing that we do, the messaging that we use, and the type of experiences that are happening in real time at Dix.
Super interesting. Now, a little bit of tying this all together is, I'm not sure we would have thought about Dix this way 10 years ago, but would you guys say you're a content company now?
Yeah, I would. And I think that some of the work even we've done in the past few years under our Cookie Jar and a Dream studio would help prove that out. We are working on both long form and short form. YouTube, obviously, to your point about how do you talk to the right generations is where young people are mostly today. And so we have one series that I'm very proud of. We're going to share it here at Cannes later this week called Speed Goes Pro that leverages iShowSpeed, who's a very well-known YouTuber, to show how he can compete with professional athletes across different sports. But content is incredibly important for us, and we know that's what athletes are looking for.
And to build on what Emily is saying, I think our approach to content is very unique because the relevancy is in what we create. Most organizations, most social media companies personalize your feed because that's how they build relevance with the audience. We start with the relevance. People are coming to us to consume content. In the case of Gamechanger, it's your child or your grandkid. In the case of the content that the Dick Studio is creating, it's sports-related content. So then we can overlay the personalization with the advertising. We don't personalize the content, we personalize the advertising. So it's a different approach.
Super interesting. Tying this all together, we live in a world right now, right, where like as marketers, we're all challenged with like algo fragmented audiences, right? We live in a divisive world politically. We live in a divisive world content-wise. I'm sure none of our Netflix home screens look alike. I'm sure none of our Spotify home screens look alike. But sport is like one of the few things that brings everybody together. And if you think about the title of this panel, like building emotional equity, it's like one of the few chances that brands, content companies, and advertisers have to kind of speak to everybody in a non-divided way. Like, do you guys see that as a big trend and a big driver of your business? And I'd love to hear from each one of you how you view this sort of ability of sport to build not just emotional equity, but like broad emotional equity as opposed to like super narrow emotional equity.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And we are very, very lucky to work at a sports company at a time where it's an incredible moment for sports in the US and around the world, and it will be for the next few years. And you're right, it is almost one of the last few pure, arguably pure things that there is right now emotionally. And so we have an authentic opportunity to tap into that, to build relationships with our athletes so that, and this is our mission statement, we can equip, support, inspire any athlete. We call our customers athletes for that reason. And so we're in an incredible moment, and we're very lucky, and it's an honor I think all of us take very seriously to have that conversation and help those athletes with their sport pursuit and build that emotional connection to broader society.
So I can't steal your thunder, but I want you to, like, from a red thread perspective across all of us, talk about Sporthood, because that was you and your team.
So we did a campaign over the past 2 years called Welcome to Sporthood. And for those who are parents in the audience who have kids playing youth sports, or you remember when you played youth sports, it's an incredible time in your lives where when you're in it, it feels very hectic. I know with my 2 daughters, it feels very, very hectic. There's practices and there's games and there's drama and there's hotels to book, and you know, but it's also an incredible moments that you miss when it's over. So that's the idea of Sporthood, and that's something we're really trying to tap into from a creative perspective. Thank you for the red thread, Toni.
Yeah, like I said, I couldn't steal your thunder because you really introduced that to us. And I think for us, it also gave us an opportunity to position even how we think about our stores, because there are those folks who are amazing, amazing fans. And they certainly want, the jersey of the moment. They want to be part of that broader community. But then you think about that opportunity to go in and outfit your child. That's a whole different scenario. And, there's all sorts of statistics out in the world around what happens with the economy. And the 2 things that people love most, their children and their pets. And so when you think about that, it gives us a unique opportunity with Sporthood to think about onboarding lifetime, we call our customers athletes. I mean, it starts so early that we believe there's that opportunity to onboard them very, very early as part of Sporthood. And then there's also the option of watching them anywhere they are through Gamechanger.
I want to build a little bit on it because honestly, if many of us grew up having a shared experience with our neighbors and our communities, and we're seeing what's happening right now with the younger generation living a very unique experience because everything they consume is personalized to them. But we just saw what happened when the Knicks won. We're seeing it in the World Cup and in these big events where there is real hunger for shared experiences. And we don't have to wait for the next World Cup. These experiences are happening in our communities. They're streamed in Gamechanger, but I'm sure brands can experience it in other ways. And I would almost encourage every marketer in the room to try to find ways to participate in shared experiences, because not only because it feels great as a human, but because brands that can be part of those experiences really get to build a different level of connection.
That's super interesting. I'm a little bit gonna like put you on the spot because you said something over on the side that I thought was super interesting. You talked about how you believe that like kids that participate in athletics have a better chance of being successful executives, have a better chance of having successful relationships. Can you talk a little bit about that? It was super intriguing, and I think if it's something we can all like take back and take home, it's like another great shared win of what we all do.
Well, this is from a personal perspective. I joined Gamechanger 6 months ago, and I realized most of the employees at Gamechanger are former youth sport athletes, and the way we engage with each other, it's very different. There's clear communication. If somebody gives you feedback, you take it as if they're coaching you. There's a shared commitment to winning, not competing with each other. So I have a hypothesis that I want to go out to prove that if you start your life learning how to be a team player in sports, that's going to set you up for other type of relationships in your life. I said something a little extreme. I'm going to try to prove it, that you stay married longer. I know for sure you're a better employee because I'm seeing it. I imagine you're a better entrepreneur. We'll see if we can prove that you can stay married longer.
That's amazing. And again, as we were talking on the side, like 2 years of organized sports has changed my 9-year-old's life. Like he's a much more focused kid. He's a more respectful kid. He's like, it's amazing. So we're at the 2-minute warning, and I just want to make sure, is there anything you want to share with this audience that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
Oh, so many things in so little time. Speed round. You go.
I'll go back to where we started. In a world that is moving so quickly for so many reasons, we are very lucky to work in sports.
Yes.
And I think we have that responsibility to all of us to keep our kids in sports for all the reasons we just talked about. So it's something that we're very dedicated to from a foundation perspective, but I would encourage everyone in the room to take that mission up as well and continue to build the next generation through sport.
I love that. And I think I'll build on that, Emily. We think about sport and we think about what it can mean to kids. I'm going to give you a really tactical example of something we do in some of our stores. We run a summer camp, a week-long summer camp for folks, for children between the ages of 5 and 9. And the beauty of that is it actually, one, as a parent, it gives you somewhere to take your children. But the thing that's really great about that is every day they experience a different sport. We also know that sports can be very expensive. It's very hard sometimes to think about which sport are they going to play, especially at that age, because basically what they want to do is they want to do whatever their best friend's doing. And so we run a week-long summer camp, and each day they get to experience a sport, and then at the end of that week, they have a graduation, and they pick that sport, and then we give them a gift card where they can actually gear up with that particular sport. And I think that's an example of, we're not doing it because we want you to buy more product. We want to do it because we want to give kids this opportunity to get emotionally invested, not just in sport, but the spirit of team, and to be invested in each other. And so for me, that's part of the beauty of working at Dick's Sporting Goods, is fundamentally believing that every child should have a chance to play, and that we're part of onboarding them early and often.
Yeah, I mean, I only want to close by saying that if you share our vision that more kids should play sports, more kids should stay in sports, we would love to hear from you and partner with you. Even if you're not in the world of sports, we are not purely a sports company. We are a family company that happens to be working in the world of sports.
Thank you. I can't think of a more motivating, exciting way to open cans. So thank you very much.